Over the past 8 years, we've studied thousands of restaurant menus to figure out which layouts and formats grow sales the fastest. And I just saw the jaw-dropping numbers from a restaurant owner who made some quick fixes to her menu and saw a more than $2,000 a month increase in online sales just by updating her menu formatting. So that's what we're focused on in this video. How you can use your existing menu, but optimize it to maximize growth and profit by following all of the best practices and making sure that it matches guest psychology. That's part of what my team does at Owner.com. We figured this stuff out by studying thousands of restaurants and millions of guests to figure out what those specific updates are that can make it easier for guests to order from a restaurant online. And we're going to hear straight from Enga, who runs 7 pizzerias in San Antonio and was named the Pizzeria of the Year in 2025 by the Pizza Today magazine, on exactly what she's done with her menus so that you can see her numbers and her results. So how did Enga get those incredible results? She focused on 3 menu engineering secrets. That brings us to secret number 1. It's called category consolidation. I used to think that more options on a menu would mean more sales because it means that guests have even more to choose from that could match their tastes. But all of the data shows that the exact opposite is true, because when guests see too many choices, they freeze up. It's called decision fatigue in psychology. And when people feel overwhelmed, they do one of 2 things. They either pick whatever's cheapest, or more commonly, they leave without ordering at all because it's such an overwhelming process to choose. Neither of those is good for you. And here's the other benefit that nobody talks about. When you have fewer categories and fewer items, it brings down your food cost naturally because you can share more ingredients across dishes, which means you have more leverage in negotiating the cost of those input ingredients. That means less waste, less inventory to manage, better prices, and a faster kitchen. So you're not just making it easier for guests to order, you're also making it easier for your team to execute. Because we power thousands of online menus, we're able to see across thousands of different restaurants what works best from a menu engineering and menu layout standpoint. And what the data shows is that you keep your top level categories between 5 and 10 so that your categories per item are manageable and guests don't have to scroll forever to find what they want. That brings us to secret number 2, DIY descriptions. That's the second thing that Enga fixed, her descriptions, or really the lack of them. When guests are ordering within your dining room, it means that they can ask questions about your menu that's printed in front of them to the server. And they often do ask questions like, what comes on this? Is it spicy? What's the difference between these 2? But remember, when people are ordering online, they have to DIY, do it yourself. They don't have a server to call. A lot of guests that get confused don't even end up placing an order or calling, or they end up calling and then waiting on a hold and then abandoning the order. So the key here is you have to write the descriptions in a way that a guest understands exactly what they're ordering. So Enga went through her online menu and made all of the items have DIY descriptions. Here's some examples so you can see how descriptive and delicious these DIY descriptions are. She has a menu item, as you can see on screen, called the Call a Tow Truck, Hit a Pothole Pizza. And the description reads, Italian sausage, cup and char sausage, red roasted bell peppers, ricotta cheese, topped with hot honey. The cup and char sausage curls up like a pothole going through the oven. Creamy ricotta and hot honey. This pizza combination is a must try. When guests can read exactly what comes with the dish and see that it's recommended and a must try, 2 things happen. First thing is they feel confident ordering. There's no surprises, there's no confusion, hopefully there's no questions. The second thing is that they actually often order more because now they see that the Texas roll comes with 3 dipping sauces, or that the specialty pizza has that topping they love. And so they're that much more likely to place an order when they get those details. Before I get into the third secret, if you want to see exactly how your online menu stacks up, then you put your restaurant name and location in the comments below, and we're going to take a look at your menu online and let you know if there's any optimization that we'd recommend based on the best practices that we see for your specific cuisine type. So that brings us to secret number 3. Modifier order matters. When a guest orders online and wants to customize their item, they see a list of modifiers. Those are things like size options, toppings to add, ingredients to remove, extras on the side. Most restaurants throw all of those modifiers onto the item in any order, but that's a problem because it confuses guests, and confused guests don't end up ordering. That's what our data from thousands of menus shows, that there's actually a correct order for modifiers, and it follows the way people actually think about building building their meal, which you'll see unfold in your dining room as people are ordering there. The first comes from the required stuff, the things that they have to pick before anything else, like pizza size, small, medium, large. You can't move forward without choosing that. Then the second is additions. These are the things that they want to add, like extra pepperoni, mushrooms, bacon, the stuff that makes them excited about their order. The third is removals, things that they want taken off. No onions, no sauce, hold the olives. These strategically come after additions because it makes it that much more appetizing for guests to first think about what they want in the pizza versus what they don't want. Then the fourth is extras, the little add-ons that are part of the main dish. Ranch dressing to dip the crust in, a side of marinara, garlic butter. So the full sequence is required, additions, removals, extras. When you set up your modifiers that way, the whole ordering process feels natural. Guests don't have to hunt around for what they need. And when ordering feels natural and easy, people order more. They're that much more likely to make it through the whole order instead of giving up on the middle and saying, oh, I'll just call, or oh, I'm gonna go to another restaurant that's simpler. You can see by this heat map of the guest ordering experience on a restaurant's menu, but when it is super streamlined and straightforward, it becomes easy to place their order with your restaurant, which means more people do it. In addition to having made all of these updates to her online menu, there were 3 brilliant things that Enga was already doing, which are rare, but so powerful. So I'm going to first bring in Enga to show you the results that she's had from this menu update. And then we're gonna talk through what those 3 things are that she was already doing that your online menu should also reflect. So without further ado, Enga, feel free to share the results that you've seen from this and any other insights you want to. And then we're gonna get back into the 3 brilliant things that you were already doing so that we can show them the difference that those things make too.
Well, Adam, to be honest, I don't know what the owner team did on the back end. I know that we were working on the increase in conversion and we did update the categories. I don't know what happened. What I do know is that we have seen sales growth month after month. Month to date, we're sitting at a 27.6%, and that is no joke. I don't take that for granted. I'm happy and I appreciate the team helping us restaurant owners continue to crush it in the business.
Thank you, Enga. And guys, for those of you that are enjoying this video and want to continue learning about how to grow your restaurant's sales and profitability and overall operating, then feel free to click that subscribe button down below so that you make sure that you never miss these valuable videos. All right, without further ado, let's talk about the 3 brilliant menu practices that Enga was already doing that I highly recommend all restaurant owners start doing. The first menu practice is called menu market fit. In 2026, most restaurant discovery still happens on Google. Not Instagram, not the delivery apps, not TikTok, not Yelp, not ChatGPT, but Google. So how do you achieve menu market fit? It's all about your menu matching what people are already searching for on Google. That means using the words your customers actually type into Google when they're looking for your dishes. I met a restaurant owner who had a taqueria in Orange County, and he wanted it to feel authentic. So initially, he wrote his entire online menu in Spanish. Tacos de pollo instead of chicken tacos, for example. The problem with that is that nobody in his area was searching on Google for tacos de pollo. They were all searching for chicken tacos, which meant that Google couldn't understand that those menu items matched what people were searching for. So when people searched for best chicken tacos in Orange County, Juan had the best, but his restaurant didn't come up. He was invisible online, even though his food was amazing. And that's an extreme example. It's not always about making sure that the language is right. There's a lot of restaurants that do this in other ways, but the important thing is that you check yourself what people are searching for in your area and you make those menu items match so that they're that much more likely to get recommended by Google. You can check that for free. Google has this free tool called the Keyword Planner tool where you type in your dish and the city it's in, and it shows you exactly how many people are searching for that term and related terms every month. Enga understood this. Her menu items use the names guests actually search for. Pepperoni pizza, sausage calzone, chicken wings, not fancy names, not confusing names, the real names of those popular dishes. When she invents a dish altogether, like that pizza we just talked about, that can have a unique name because nobody's searching for tow truck pizza. But if you have a dish that people already naturally search for, then you need to make sure that it fits what people are typing in so that you get the foundation right for getting found online for that dish. There's another very interesting thing that happens when you do those DIY descriptions properly. The technical word for this this in SEO is called latent semantic indexing. And the very, very simple summary of what that actually means is that when Google sees that you have very detailed descriptions of a menu item that often go with that menu item, they view that menu item name as being that much more credible to rank you at the top. So putting in those DIY descriptions along with making sure that the item name matches what people are searching for gives you the maximum probability from an on-site optimization standpoint to get recommended by Google for those dishes when people in your area are searching. And if you don't want to go through the work of going through Google's keyword planner tool and typing in all of your menu items, we've built a tool that makes it much easier for you to see that fit. You go to greater.owner.com and you just type in your restaurant name. There's no credit card required or any other steps. It's a totally free tool. We've built that tool to give you clarity on how your restaurant is doing online for the most important Google keywords, and it will show you where you have versus not have menu market fit in terms of the actual rankings that you're getting back from Google and the specific things that you can do to make it that much more likely to rank at the top. Again, it's totally free and it takes like 2 minutes. You go to greater.owner.com, you type in your restaurant name, and the AI does the rest for you. So on to Enga's second brilliant menu practice, the Google Ready format. This is actually separate from menu market fit, but just as important. There's 2 parts to it. The first is no PDF menu on the primary website. There's a lot of restaurants that still have a PDF menu on their primary website. And it isn't just problematic from a guest experience standpoint, it limits how Google is able to read your menu online. And they cannot recommend and read that PDF menu. It has no ability to do that. So when somebody searches for best calzone near you, your restaurant doesn't even show up, even if you have an amazing calzone, because Google never knew it existed. So Enga had a menu online that was not just built to be easy for guests, but to be easy for Google to deeply understand it. And beyond the points that we've already discussed for how to do that, the next most important thing is called schema markup, which it sounds like a very fancy, intimidating technical term. It's basically just the language that makes it as easy as possible for a search engine like Google to understand what you do. And there's a whole set of documents that Google has produced that show business owners how to add schema markup to their websites and the specific formats that they support for restaurants. Our data shows that when restaurants actually put that schema markup on their online menu, that it meaningfully increases the amount of traffic that they get from Google because it gives them that much more data on where to recommend your restaurant and shows that you're already following the best practices that make it very easy for Google to understand what your restaurant offers and showcase it in rich results on Google. So if you want to see if your restaurant is currently doing this properly, you Google the schema markup testing tool from Google. Google has this free tool that you type in the name of your restaurant in, and it shows you how your restaurant is currently showing up by schema markup and rich results. If it's not showing up at all, it's a problem that you can send to your web guy to get them to address it. But there's another important piece to optimizing your menu experience for Google. The technical term for it is on-domain ordering. That means when someone clicks order now on your restaurant's website, they need to stay on your restaurant's domain. They don't get bounced to some third-party app or a different site that is on a different domain. And there's 2 reasons why Google cares about this. The first reason is that Google looks at what are called behavioral signals of users that they send to your website. That's another fancy technical term for, are the people that we send to this website actually enjoying the website and buying from this website? And the number one behavioral signal is called bounce rate, which is of the people that we send to the website, how many quickly bounce off of the website and go to a different website. Google has the ability to track that. And what happens when you have an off-site ordering setup that goes to a different domain is Google sees the traffic coming into your website, they click the order now button, it sends them to a different website, and Google says, why are all these people clicking off the website within like 2 seconds of us sending it? So what you do to fix this is you make sure that your ordering is on the same domain, so that when Google sends you traffic, they see that traffic actually spends a lot of time on your website and ends up going through and placing an order on that website. There's a second reason why it's important that is related to guest trust, which is that when a guest visits your website and they click the order now button, it's a bit jarring to go to a whole different website that they've never been to. Maybe it's a website that's powered by your POS's online ordering system, but your guest doesn't know what a POS system is. They just want to order from your restaurant. So when they see all those different unfamiliar things of the POS system's branding and the POS system's domain, they start to get suspicious. They start wondering, is this site trustworthy? What is insertposname.com? Like, I thought I was ordering from this restaurant. And a lot of people then abandon their cart right there, or they go to a delivery app. But when checkout happens on your own domain, it feels seamless. Plus, you can keep all of your customers' data when they go through your own website, their phone number, their opt-in, their order history, that's yours. It's not some third-party delivery apps. Enga's whole ordering flow happens on her website, and guests never leave. That makes a huge difference in how many people actually complete their order with Enga. Then, when Enga has that direct customer data from on-site ordering, it means that she's able to remarket to her existing customers, to tell them about new menu items, upcoming events, promote her catering business, and do all of that through automated campaigns using the direct customer relationships that she's building with access to opt-in from. That brings us to Enga's third brilliant menu practice, upselling built in to the menu experience. The last thing Enga was already doing well is having relevant contextual upselling, and not just random upselling. Here's what I mean. When a guest adds a main dish to their cart, the menu should suggest specific items that go with it. Not just want to add a drink, but want a Mexican Coke to go with that pepperoni pizza. This is huge. Think about McDonald's for a minute. They kind of invented this playbook. At first glance, it looks like a burger company. But if you look through their numbers, most of their profit on a restaurant level actually comes from fries, soft drinks, McCafe, coffees, not from burgers, because burgers will always have a high food cost. In McDonald's case, it's at an estimated 40% food cost, which is pretty high with the amount of volume that they're buying burgers in. But when you add fries to that order, fries are made of potatoes, oil, and salt. So the food cost there is around 10%. And when a customer adds those fries to the order, McDonald's profit on that order nearly doubles. The same thing is true for your restaurant. Appetizers, beverages, and desserts almost always have the lowest food cost on your menu. A side of mozzarella sticks might cost you less than $1 to make, but you sell it for $8 or $9. That's great for your profit margins. So when Enga's online ordering system sees somebody orders a pizza, it suggests a specific appetizer or the drink that people most commonly pair with that dish. The guest thinks, oh yeah, garlic bread actually goes perfectly with this, and they add it. Here's the magic. If upselling is built into your online menu, it happened with every order without extra work. And it's actually relevant to the guest. You don't have to train your staff to remember to upsell or be pushy with guests. The system just does it in a way that guests appreciate. That's more profit from the same customers, and it makes the guest experience that much better too. If you've enjoyed this video on menu optimization, then you would also love the deep breakdown that I did on menu engineering overall, how menu engineering works, and all of the other tricks and tactics that you can use to maximize your sales, maximize your profitability, and most importantly, create a guest experience that is ideal for them too. So check out that menu engineering video so that you can see exactly how that works.